Hey, this is Big Guy DIY Robert coming to you with a little issue I have with my F-150 and what I need to do to repair it. And I'm putting this out there for others who don't know why their truck is rusting out. But let me show you what I have on the passenger side. So this is the passenger side. This issue I have is on both sides of the truck, but the passenger side is the worst. So we look here. I've already worked on this corner, fiberglass it, because it rusted out. But if we look under the truck, here's my hand in relation to it. This hole is about 8 inches long, and my running board all the way up to the front is rusted. This goes for both sides. I brought this to a body shop to ask him about it, and he said what's happening is the water is coming inside the cabin and rusting my truck out from the inside. This rust is not being done technically from the outside. And one thing you have to look at is the rest of my truck, there's no rust in it except, you know, your usual drive shaft and stuff, but my fenders, my rear quarter panels, nothing is rusted. It's just the bottom part of the running board in this corner. And so the question is, how is the water getting inside the cab here? Well, I had the rear window replaced 5 years ago. And so I went to the shop that did the work, the window glass place, and asked them to inspect it to see if it was my rear window doing this. That maybe they hadn't sealed it correctly, and so it was getting in between the outside sheet metal and the inside sheet metal. First thing he did is he opened up my door and he looked up here. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a water line right here. If I block the light, it'll come into view somewhat. The wire harness from the third light comes in right here. And that was the answer. It was the third light that's in here. So I've pulled the light off. One thing I notice is when this is sitting on the truck for the last several years, there was always crap that collected inside here all the way around. And I would use a garden hose and try to wash it out. The lens was not sealed off from this part, plus the rubber gasket that's on the back of this. Well, it's actually a foam gasket. It's not really a rubber gasket, maybe rubber foam gasket. Was very flat. It didn't really seal between the body of the truck and my lens. So I thought maybe I'll get a new gasket and replace it. Ford does not make a gasket for these third lights. You have to buy the entire light. The entire light comes with a gasket. The gasket has not changed. The construction of the light in regards to your reflective lens insert here from your exterior lens, that is also has not changed. So you're buying the exact same light that you have currently in the truck. if you have a problem with the current one, why would you buy the second one and have the same issue within a couple years? That made absolutely no sense to me. So the repair we're going to do, and I'm going to use my skill set from working in the boating industry, is the first thing I did is I needed to seal the gap between these two pieces. I can actually take a needle and go in between there and get all that dirt out. So what I did first, using a garden hose, is flush all the dirt that had collected around this entire lens and get that out of there. Next, using a marine seal, clear, let me go inside here and show you. There are a couple marine seals I can use. This is one product. Usually you can find this in your hardware store, your big box store, your Lowe's, your Home Depot. But if this is not available, because this can be used underwater as well as above water, you can also use Goop Marine. This is clear. What I did on this is I found a plastic tip I had from other tubes of sealants I've bought, cut this on an angle, and then squeezed it, filling in the gap between the reflector lens and the exterior light lens. And I did that all the way around the whole piece. Now, to see if it got in there, see how this looks wiggly? That's the sealant being pushed inside here and sealing this lens all the way around. So now my lens, this part here, is sealed for here to prevent water from going in. The gasket I saved. I let it hang out for a while so it would dry because it was soaking wet. I'm going to reinstall this gasket on here. I'm going to be using double-sided tape. So we're putting a double-sided tape on here, and then we're going to reattach this gasket onto here. So, number one, seal this first. Number two, let's reapply the original gasket to here. Alright, I cut this in half so that way it's the same width as this. Now I'm not worried about the seams that I'll have in this tape. The tape is just to hold the gasket in place. Alright, I'm going to go out and buy some more double-sided tape. Picked up new tape. Show you what I picked up. Gorilla Glue mounting tape, which is a double-sided tape. You'll see some products, if it's an old packaging for Gorilla Glue, it'll say double-sided tape. The new wording now is mounted sided tape because it can hold a lot more in weight. So we're going to Take our backing off. So with the double-sided tape, it's going to raise my gasket now level to be higher than my housing. So I'll be able to press against the body of the truck. But I'm not going to rely on this sealing it. We're going to use sealant as well in the truck. So let's do that next. When I seal this up, to try to get the gasket, original gasket to the light, I use electrical tape. Reason why I use electrical tape is it does not leave any glue residue behind compared to, say, duct tape or packaging tape. So it's just a quick little patch. Electrical tape would not hold. It's not something you can put on and leave it, say, for 4 or 5 days. It's something you're just going to put on and take off within, say, 24 hours or so. So, give you an inside look here. Here's your outside of your body. Here's the inside. This little tray here that you see actually goes to the corner. It's part of the roof. This is right there. You see that hole? That's the hole to the roof liner. So you're looking right at the roof liner right there. Water, as it came in, was going in between these two pieces of metal, following the window line and then going down. Because my driveway is a hill, all the water sat in the back corner of the cab. Down there, and rotted it completely out. So it was a good several years of that going on. So what I'm using here is silicone rubber. The reason I'm using the marine grade is because it doesn't have to, you don't have to wait for it to dry in order for it to seal. It'll seal immediately. You won't get any mildew. It'll attach to wood, metal, glass, whatever. I use this stuff a lot. It does have a short shelf life. Once you open a tube, it'll be useful for about 2 or 3 months, and then you end up throwing it away because it'll harden up. So what I'm going to do first, before I reinstall the light, is I bought black, as you can see. It matches the cab. And you just do a bead on the outside of where the light would go. You don't put the bead on the gasket itself. So as you can see, this is the outside of the light. I didn't do a really thick bead, but I did a thin bead all the way around. That's really all I need. Okay, reinstalled. Now, definitely have a rag with you. This stuff does get on your fingers and your hands. But drag the rag across the top. And that way you get all the black silicone or clear silicone off. So we are reinstalled. I think the only thing I'm going to do is, once this dries, I'm going to take these screws, one screw out, and put in a rubber washer on here and a rubber washer on here to even seal it further. But right now, I just want to get it into place, let it dry in place, adhere there, and then I'm all set. So, just to put this in a conclusion, if you're finding really severe rust in the back side of your cab, and you have no idea how it's getting there, and the way to tell whether the rust is from the outside or coming from the inside is you'll get a bubble underneath the paint, but outside the paint there won't be any rust. So if you're seeing bubble underneath the paint, that means the rust is coming from the inside, not from the outside, because you'd see the rust and the paint would be gone, if you understand what I'm saying. It's the third light. It's the third brake light. Ford knows this happens. When I went to the parts dealer to get just the gasket, the guy brought out the light and said they don't sell the gasket separate. And after a close inspection, it had not changed. It's still a flawed part. And the guy said, yeah, they haven't changed it at all. So to spend $107 for something that's going to give you a problem in another 2 or 3 years, start rusting out your cab there, that's stupid. So just seal it in, but don't go crazy with the sealant, because at some point those bulbs go bad and you're going to have to take it off. And if you put too much sealant on there, it's going to make a mess trying to get it reinstalled, and you're never going to get it to reseal properly. So there is such a thing as too much sealant. You just need a nice thin bead all the way around when you're reinstalling the light. This sealant that I use, if I ever have to take the light off, can be removed. They do make a product out there for softening that sealant, so it's removable. That way you can start off with a clean surface again, and then you'll have to clean the well, you can't clean the gasket, obviously. You can't do anything with that, but at least the surface you can re-clean. So on the next thing on this truck, it's going into the body shop. It's getting the running boards underneath my doors. It's going to be completely cut off from the front door all the way to the rear door, including the corner, both sides. New metal is going to be welded in. The new metal will be primed inside, so it has some kind of rust proofing. Once the metal is welded in, the new metal will be primed, and then I'm not having the truck painted black with the regular body paint. It's not necessary. It's below the doors. So what I'm using is something called a product called a Pour 15. So I'm going to have that shop do it. The body shop's doing this work, but use something like Pour 15 or Rhino Liner and just totally coat that whole running board underneath the cab. It's not unseen, but I want to seal that thing like no tomorrow. I don't want to get any more rust from this light or anything else. This truck's got to last me another 10 years or so. So give me a thumbs up if this information helped you at all. If any questions, rifle them below. Like I said, I'm not doing the body work because that's a little beyond my capacity. And I'll come back showing you the body work done and what it looks like. So that might be like another month or so down the road from the time this video is posted. All right, big guy DIY Robert signing off. Have a good weekend.